If you've ever stood next to a Caterpillar D11, you know it's not just a machine, it's an experience. It stands about 15 feet tall, weighs over 230,000 pounds, and when that V12 engine fires up, you don't just hear it, you feel it in your chest. For anyone who loves heavy iron, the D11 is the ultimate prize. It's the king of the bulk push, the machine that can rip through rock and move mountains of earth in a single shift. But there's a big difference between admiring a D11 from the side of a highway and actually signing the papers to own one. Most people see the price tag on a machine like this and think, wow, $2 or $3 million. That's a lot of money. But the reality is that the purchase price is just the entry fee. Owning a D11 is like owning a professional sports team or a private jet. The cost of buying it is often the cheapest part of the journey. Today, we're looking at the true, cold, hard cash reality of owning Caterpillar's largest dozer in 2026. We're going to look at the fuel bills that could fund a small business, the maintenance schedules that cost more than a luxury home, and the logistical nightmares of just trying to move this beast from point A to point B. If you've ever wondered what it really takes to keep a monster like this alive, you're in the right place. The sticker shock. Let's start with the sticker price. If you walked into a Cat dealership today, in February of 2026, and asked for a brand new D11, you'd better be prepared for a number that starts with a 3. Depending on the configuration, whether you need the high abrasion undercarriage, a specialized U-blade, or the latest command for dozing remote operating tech, you're looking at anywhere from $2.2 million to $3.5 million. Now you might think, I'll just buy a used one. And you can. You'll find D11s on the used market with 15,000 hours on them for maybe $1.2 million or $1.5 million. But in the world of heavy equipment, there's no such thing as a free lunch. A used D11 is usually a machine that has spent its entire life in a coal mine or a rock quarry. It's been beaten on for 10 hours a day, every day. Buying a used D11 often means you're just inheriting a $500,000 maintenance bill that's due in 6 months. And don't forget the attachments. A standard blade for a D11 is roughly 22 feet wide. If you need a specialized universal blade for moving massive amounts of coal or wood chips, or a multi-shank ripper for the back to tear through limestone, you can easily add another $150,000 to $250,000 just in steel. The fuel guzzler. Once you've actually bought the machine, your next challenge is feeding it. The D11 is powered by the Cat C32 engine. It's a 32-liter twin-turbocharged V12 that puts out somewhere between 850 and 950 horsepower, depending on the exact spec. It is a masterpiece of engineering, but it is incredibly thirsty. When a D11 is working hard, meaning it's in high production slot dozing or ripping through hard rock, it burns through diesel at a rate that is hard to wrap your head around. We're talking about 25 to 45 gallons per hour. Let's do some quick math. In February of 2026, diesel prices are hovering around $4.50 a gallon in many parts of the U.S. If you're running a 10-hour shift and your operator is pushing that machine hard, you're burning roughly 400 gallons of diesel. That's $1,800 a day, just in diesel. If you run that machine 20 days a month, you're looking at a $36,000 monthly fuel bill. That's enough to buy a brand new mid-size sedan every single month, just to keep the tank full. And that's not counting the DEF, diesel exhaust fluid. Modern Tier 4 final engines like the C32 need DEF to stay compliant with emissions laws. It's another tank to fill and another expense to track. When you're operating on the scale of a D11, even the small things like DEF and lubricants add up to thousands of dollars a year. Now we get to the part that really keeps owners up at night, the maintenance. In the world of dozers, the most expensive part isn't the engine or the transmission, it's the undercarriage. We call it the jewelry of the machine because it's incredibly expensive and it's constantly wearing away. A D11 moves on tracks, and those tracks are made of hundreds of moving parts: links, pins, bushings, rollers, and idlers. Every time that machine moves, steel is rubbing against steel. If you're working in a high abrasion environment like a granite quarry, your undercarriage is literally being sanded down every second. A complete undercarriage overhaul on a D11 is a massive undertaking. You're looking at a bill that can easily hit $200,000 to $300,000. And depending on the ground conditions, you might have to do that every 3,000 to 5,000 hours. If you're running a double shift, that's an undercarriage tax of nearly $50 for every single hour the machine is running. Then there's the engine. The C32 is a workhorse, but like any high-performance engine, it has a shelf life. Most D11 owners look at a major engine overhaul or replacement around the 12,000 to 15,000 hour mark. That's a $150,000 to $200,000 phone call to your Cat dealer. Even the routine stuff is giant. A simple oil change on a D11 isn't a 5-quart and a filter job. You're changing out nearly 30 gallons of engine oil, 60 gallons of hydraulic fluid, and massive filters that cost more than your car's entire tune-up. You don't do this in your driveway, you do it with specialized service trucks and a crew of mechanics who know exactly how to handle 100-ton components. Logistical nightmares. One of the most overlooked costs of owning a D11 is simply getting it to the job site. You can't just drive a D11 down the road. Aside from the fact that it would crush the asphalt and destroy any bridge it touched, it's simply too wide and too heavy. When a D11 needs to move, it has to be dismantled. You have to take off the blade, the push arms, and often the ripper assembly on the back. Sometimes you even have to remove the ROSP, the cab structure, to clear low bridges. Moving a D11 usually requires 4 to 5 specialized heavy haul trucks. You need wide load permits, pilot cars in the front and back, and a crane at both ends to help with the teardown and the reassembly. Moving a D11 just a few hundred miles can easily cost $20,000 to $50,000 in logistics alone. Because of this, once a D11 arrives at a site, it usually stays there for a long time. You don't bring in a D11 for a weekend job, you bring it in for a 3-year contract. The operator factor. There's one more hidden cost to consider: the person in the seat. You don't put a rookie in a D11. If an inexperienced operator makes a mistake in a skid steer, they might knock over a fence. If an inexperienced operator makes a mistake in a D11, they can destroy a $100,000 transmission or cause a catastrophic accident in seconds. Top-tier D11 operators are highly skilled and highly paid. In 2026, many owners are moving toward remote operation systems, where the operator sits in an office miles away from the dust and vibration. While this is safer and more efficient, the tech itself costs a fortune to install and maintain. Whether the operator is in the cab or in an office, you're paying for the best of the best, and that adds a significant amount to your hourly operating cost. Depreciation and the resale market. Finally, let's talk about the exit strategy. All machines depreciate, and the D11 is no exception. However, because these machines are so specialized, they actually hold their value better than you might think. There's always a mine in South America, a quarry in Australia, or a massive infrastructure project in the US that needs a D11. However, the resale value is entirely dependent on your maintenance records. A D11 with 10,000 hours and a documented CAT-certified powertrain rebuild is a valuable asset. A D11 with 10,000 hours and no records is a gamble that most people won't take. To keep the resale value high, you have to spend the money on the maintenance we talked about earlier. It's a pay now or pay later situation. Is it worth it? After hearing all of that, the millions in purchase price, the thousands a day in fuel, and the eye-watering maintenance bills, you might wonder why anyone would ever buy one of these things. The answer is simple. Nothing else can do what a D11 does. On a large-scale project, a single D11 can replace 3 smaller dozers. It moves more dirt per gallon of fuel and per hour of operator time than almost any other solution. In a high-production environment, the cost per yard of moving dirt with a D11 is actually lower than with smaller machines, provided you have enough work to keep it busy. It's the ultimate economy of scale. If you have 50 million yards of earth to move, the D11 isn't an expensive luxury, it's a financial necessity. Owning a D11 is a high-stakes game. It requires deep pockets, a world-class maintenance team, and a job site big enough for the monster to eat. It's not for the faint of heart, and it's certainly not for anyone who's not prepared for the reality of those six-figure repair bills. But for those who can handle the cost, the D11 remains the undisputed king of the dirt. It's a machine that defines what human engineering is capable of, and for the people who run them, there's simply nothing else like it in the world. Thanks for taking this deep dive into the real-world costs of the heavy iron. It's easy to look at these machines and see the power, but it's the numbers behind the scenes that really tell the story. If you've ever worked around a D11 or had to sign the checks for one, we'd love to hear your stories in the comments. And if you enjoyed this look at the financial reality of the big machines, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We'll see you on the next job site.